Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. I'm your anchor, name, and this is your news recap. In the past 24 hours, tensions have escalated in the Middle East, with the Strait of Hormuz blockade taking a significant toll on Iran's economy. The conflict with the U.S. has reached its 49th day, while Hezbollah has issued a warning about the ongoing hostilities. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is pushing back against criticisms of his economic policies, and a new threat has emerged in the region, with Turkey and Pakistan potentially becoming Israel's next adversaries. A major threat to global energy supplies has emerged in the Middle East, with the Strait of Hormuz blockade taking a devastating toll on Iran's economy. The U.S. blockade on the Strait of Hormuz has imposed a crippling economic blow on Iran, disrupting nearly all trade to and from the country's ports. According to military officials, the blockade has effectively cut off 90% of Iran's economy, exacerbating a situation already strained by U.S. sanctions. The Trump administration's move is seen as a bid to pressure the Iranian government into returning to the negotiating table, where a new nuclear deal is being discussed. The blockade, which began on May 8th, is the latest escalation in a long-running cycle of tensions between the U.S. and Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical waterway for global energy supplies, and the blockade has already led to significant disruptions in oil shipments. Iran's economy has long been heavily reliant on oil exports, and the blockade has dealt a devastating blow to the country's already fragile economy. The blockade has also raised concerns about the potential for energy price spikes globally. As the world's largest oil exporter, Iran's oil exports account for a significant share of global supply. With the Strait of Hormuz blocked, the U.S. is effectively taking control of the region's energy flows, raising the specter of increased energy prices for consumers around the world. As the situation continues to unfold, analysts warn that the consequences of the blockade could be far-reaching and have significant implications for the global economy. We now turn to the escalating crisis in the Middle East, where the war between the U.S. and Iran is showing no signs of letting up. A 10-day ceasefire has taken effect in Lebanon, marking a significant shift in the escalating conflict between the U.S. and Iran. The truce, which began at midnight on Wednesday, has led to widespread celebrations in the country, with many residents taking to the streets to rejoice. The U.S. State Department has confirmed that the ceasefire is a result of diplomatic efforts and has welcomed the development as a positive step towards reducing tensions in the region. According to U.S. President Donald Trump, the ceasefire is very close to being finalized, and he has extended an invitation to the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and the President of Lebanon, Joseph Aoun, to meet with him at the White House. Trump has expressed optimism that a longer-term deal can be reached, paving the way for greater stability in the region. Iran's foreign ministry has also welcomed the ceasefire, framing it as part of a broader effort with Washington to pause the regional conflict. The development has been met with skepticism by some, who have questioned the sincerity of the U.S.'s intentions. However, with the ceasefire now in effect, there is a growing sense of hope that a peaceful resolution to the conflict may be possible. The ceasefire marks a significant shift in the conflict, and its implications for the region will be closely watched in the coming days. The talks between Israeli and Lebanese officials are expected to be a key part of the negotiations, and their success will be a crucial factor in determining the future of the conflict. As tensions in the region continue to simmer, a key player in the ongoing conflict is now making a cautious statement about its military readiness. The situation in southern Lebanon remains volatile following the announcement of a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. The ceasefire, which took effect on Friday, was agreed upon by the leaders of the two countries, with President Trump announcing the deal the previous day. However, the U.S.-designated terrorist group Hezbollah has indicated that it will respect the ceasefire, but has not been a formal party to the agreement. Hezbollah, which has been at war with Israel on and off for years, has been accused of firing rockets at Israeli towns and cities during the conflict. The group's involvement in the conflict has been a key point of contention, with many questioning whether the ceasefire will hold without Hezbollah's participation. The Israeli military has maintained its positions in southern Lebanon, despite the ceasefire, and has warned displaced residents of towns and villages not to attempt to return to their homes. The ceasefire has been welcomed by Lebanese officials, who have reported over 2,000 deaths, including many women and children, and over 1 million people displaced by the conflict. The international community has been monitoring the situation closely, with many hoping that the ceasefire will bring an end to the violence. The involvement of Hezbollah and the Israeli military in the conflict has significant implications for regional stability and the future of the Middle East. As the situation continues to unfold, it remains to be seen whether the ceasefire will hold and whether the region can return to a state of relative calm. As tensions escalate with Iran, former U.S. President Donald Trump is speaking out on economic policies, dismissing concerns of fake inflation in his administration. President Trump has defended his administration's economic policies, casting aside concerns over rising inflation amid the U.S.'s conflict with Iran. At an event in Las Vegas, Trump expressed skepticism over a recent Labor Department report that showed a 0.9-point hike in inflation last month, which was the highest consumer price spike in nearly 4 years. The report, which was released on Wednesday, highlighted the impact of rising energy costs on U.S. households. The report, which was widely expected, showed that inflation rose by 0.9% in January, up from 0.7% in December. This is the highest increase in nearly 4 years, and it's a significant departure from the Federal Reserve's 2% inflation target. The increase in inflation is largely attributed to the ongoing conflict between the U.S. and Iran, which has led to a significant increase in oil prices. Trump, who has been a vocal critic of the media, accused the report of being fake and claimed that the economy is doing well. He pointed to low unemployment rates and a strong stock market as evidence of a thriving economy. The president's comments come as the U.S. and Iran are engaged in a military standoff in the Middle East, with the U.S. imposing sanctions on Iranian oil exports in an effort to pressure the country to negotiate. The inflation report is a significant development in the ongoing debate over the economy, and it will likely be closely watched by policymakers and investors. The report's findings will also have implications for the Federal Reserve, which is expected to raise interest rates later this year to combat inflation. Following a tumultuous week in the Middle East, we take a closer look at a growing concern: a shift in Israel's regional adversaries. According to Israeli analyst Boaz Golani, the dynamics in the Middle East are shifting, and Iran's role as Israel's archenemy is no longer tenable. In an opinion piece published in the Daily Ma'ariv, Golani suggests that Iran's military capabilities have been significantly weakened by the latest war and its economic meltdown. As a result, Iran will be forced to vacate the role of Israel's great enemy, and a new country will take its place. The latest war in Iran, which took place in June, was sparked by tensions between Tehran and Israel over regional security. The conflict has left Iran's military capabilities severely depleted, and its economy is on the brink of collapse. Golani believes that this shift in the regional balance of power will have significant implications for Israel's national security. Golani points to Pakistan and Turkey as potential successors to Iran's role as Israel's archenemy. Both countries have been increasingly critical of Israel in recent years, and their military capabilities are significant. However, it is worth noting that neither country has the same level of resources or strategic depth as Iran. Nevertheless, Golani argues that they could potentially fill the power vacuum left by Iran's decline. As the situation in Iran continues to deteriorate, it is clear that Israel will need to reassess its relationships with its neighbors and consider new strategic alliances in order to maintain its national security. That's all for today's news recap. Thank you for watching. If you want to stay up to date on the latest global news, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We'll continue to bring you in-depth analysis and breaking news from around the world. Don't miss out on our daily recaps and in-depth features. Join us tomorrow for more news and insights. Until then, good night, and thank you for your support.